guess we got people checking in already, man. I like that. A minute before we start.
A minute before.
This what's up. This what's up. I like this, man. This is hello, everybody. We're about to start in 1 minute. Well, actually, probably 30 seconds. 30 seconds, everybody. 30 seconds. Okay, here we go. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the On The Go podcast. Welcome back to episode 5. We're excited to have you guys back. I'm your host, Pop.
Your girl, Tina. What's up, guys?
How are you guys doing today? Happy Sunday. I'm so happy you guys are tuned into our episode today, man. We got a lot of juicy things to discuss.
Yes,
Today's topic is surviving life after death.
Yes.
And it's going to be we got 2 great special guests appearing on our show today.
And I mean, there's several reasons why we feel as though this episode is especially important to us here at On The Go podcast. One, not only are we going to be, just discussing gun violence and bringing some awareness to our audience, but we're also going to be observing the death of our co-host, Wil, his late brother, Max Antoine. You want to explain more?
Yeah, I mean, today's going to be a very touchy topic, but it definitely needs to be discussed, and we're going to impact a lot of different things, talking about gun violence in our community, and also talk about my brother's case, and we're going to do we're going to share some great memories of my brother Max. And we have 2 special guests appearing on our show. It's a 2-hour special.
Yes.
So make sure when you guys logged off, when we log off at 7, stay on. We're gonna we're gonna log back on at 7 o'clock, 8. So we're on from 6 to 8 p.m. today. And 2 of our special guests.
It's going to be Cheyenne Antoine, who is the firstborn of Max Antoine, and also Cayla Joseph, who is also your daughter.
Yes.
And from what I've learned, just gathering information about your family, she seems to have had a really close relationship with her uncle also.
Yes.
So.
They were definitely very close to each other.
Yes.
We're going to get Cheyenne on in a minute. And we're going to definitely, like I said, it's going to be definitely touchy subject, but, it's going to be impactful. And also, hopefully you guys definitely get something out of this. You know what I mean? And where you guys can share this information about gun violence in our community. Also, you guys can get an update on my brother's case and also hear a lot of great memories about Max Antoine.
Right. So, I mean, let's get it started. You guys know I love to always bring some facts, some truth, something real, raw. We never come in with just, off the top of our heads. So, as the week was playing out, I absolutely wanted to make sure that this episode had an impact, and I'm going to be narrowing in the facts for not only Connecticut, but also the town of Bridgeport, where unfortunately Max was, wrongfully killed. So, from what I've gathered on the Connecticut.gov website, there are currently 38 open cold cases. 38 open cold cases listed on the website. All of these cases have a few things in common, but what stuck out the most for me is that many of these deaths were due to gun violence. And then to go, just narrowing down, Bridgeport has more than 350 open homicide cases since 1978.
So that's a lot of open cases. 300,
open cases.
Over 300 open cases in the city of Bridgeport. And what that means is that the fact that our community doesn't step up and say, give information to the police department that they need to solve these cases. And I think since the 1970s, there's over 300 open cases in the city of Bridgeport. And I think that's sad that these families haven't had any closure to their loved ones who they lost through gun violence.
Not only is there, over 300 cases that are open, but most of the victims, except for 3, they all range from the ages of 14 to 49. The average age is 29, and all of the victims are Black or Hispanic. So not only does that say one thing about just our law enforcement and how we're supposed to be the ones to trust them, but it speaks volumes to our community and how important it is for us to be a little bit more aware of, what's going on. There's a lot of Black on Black crime, and we as a culture, we have to do better.
I think as a culture, that we definitely have to break that tradition, break that curse. And what that means is we got to start implementing and letting this thing get in our head, saying that it's called snitching. It's not called snitching because you got to put yourself in a position where if you lost your brother, your mother, your dad, or even your child,
your friend,
from somebody through gun violence,
right?
How would it affect you if you knew somebody that had information for the case to be solved that didn't want to speak up because they feel like it's caused no snitching? I think that's ridiculous because the pain and the position that my family has been in for the past 3 years, going on 3 years, marks tomorrow, make it 3 years.
Right.
It's ridiculous, and it's because that there's a witness out there that has information for us to get this case off, and they don't want to come forward.
So again, I mean, this episode, yes, we're going to highlight the impact of gun violence, but we're also going to look at it from the lens of the family, because I think a lot of times when someone passes away, you know, everyone is stunned initially, but then the family, the loved ones, the ones who are really around this person, they're left to kind of carry on emotions. Maybe they don't trust certain people. You know, their entire view of the world around them changes. And I think this is the best platform. And with you to even, you know, come forth and be able to share the story with our viewers, I mean, it speaks volumes to you, to your niece, and to your daughter, who is also going to join in today.
Yeah, I think it's very, very big. I mean, what I want this show to do today is also just shed light on this case.
Yeah.
And we want everyone out there to understand what our family has been through the past 3 years. Also, you know, what my brother's daughter has been through the past 3 years, and also the negative and the positive side of it. And also what my daughter has been through and the rest of the family. So it's going to be a great show. I hope you guys told your friends, your family members. Hope you got your tea, your drinks next to you, because it's going to be a nice, great 2-hour series. So stay tuned. We're about to get Cheyenne Antoine on board.
Yes.
We're about to log her in. Max Antoine's daughter, her first time speaking out about her dad's death. So guys, this is going to be a great show. Let's get Cheyenne on board. Let's see if we can get Cheyenne on board. Cheyenne, are you tuned in? Hold on. We got to see if she get Cheyenne on board. Hold on. Let's try to get Cheyenne. I think Cheyenne is on now. Let me see. Let me get Cheyenne on board. How did we get to one before? You remember?
Cheyenne, if you're on, Cheyenne. Okay.
Yep. Here she comes.
Okay, go live.
Here we go. Cheyenne. She's about to tune in. Hey, what's up, girl? What's up? Could you hear us very well?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Welcome to the
On The Go podcast.
Our second guest. That's big. We just want to say, you know, before we even start, just thank you for even taking the time out to come and speak with us. I'm hearing that this is going to be your first time speaking out. So I respect you.
I'm excited. You gotta show the world your hoodie, girl. Show the world your
My
hoodie.
heart is beating out of my chest right now, y'all.
We repping we got the 420 in the back. The 420, hashtag 420.
Yes.
Make sure we got posts tomorrow. Use the hashtag 420Max. Justice for Max hashtag also. So we're going to get right into it, Cheyenne.
Yes.
We're excited to have you on board on the On The Go podcast, and the viewers are excited to have you and listen to your story.
Yeah.
And like I said, our show is about impacting and inspiring others, and also we're real and raw with anything.
Yes.
And there's no hold bar. So any questions you viewers have for Cheyenne, please feel free to ask.
Yes.
And please be respectful also.
So what our co-host doesn't realize is he's also a guest on this show today. So I'm going to be taking the lead. I'm going to be asking some questions. You know, at any point, feel free to hit the heart, leave a comment for us. This family needs our support today. This is huge for them. So come on, family. We are here to support them. So my first question, and Cheyenne, I'm going to have you start. So you got to wait your turn.
I'm here. Listen, I'm patient. It's all about Cheyenne today. It's all about Cheyenne.
Please, just describe in your own words who Max Antoine was to you as a father.
Okay. The one word I would use is dedicated, but like me and my father's relationship isn't like, I wouldn't say it's the most conventional, because for like most of my life, I would say like give or take from 10 to 15, he was in jail So
Okay.
like when I was younger, of course, we had like the best relationship, daddy's girl, of course. But like
Yeah.
it's hard, I would say, when he goes away to jail at such a like important part of my life. So from like 9 to 15, I always felt some sort of like resentment because it's kind of like I watch crime shows all the time. My friends could attest to it. So it's kind of like I felt like he chose to be there, even though as I got older and really started to understand it wasn't the case. But at the time, I was kind of like, dang, he chose to be there and not here with me. So that was difficult. But when he came back for like the last time, I was like 16 or I'm lying, 15.
Nah, you 15.
Yeah, I was like 15. And he really tried his hardest to like break down my walls because my walls were up.
Right,
Like, because he would try to talk to me and I'll just be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then my mom had to sit me down and my mom was like, Cheyenne, life is way too short. Obviously, he's putting in the effort to reach out to you, to talk to you. And then I was like, okay, I'll listen this one time. And everyone knows the way to my heart is food. So he took me out to eat a couple times. And
I know that.
My stomach was full. I was happy. I gave that a chance. And now we had probably the peak of our relationship was that last time he came. So it's kind of crazy. Like our relationship was at its strongest and then he was like taken from me in a way. So that's also pretty crazy. And that night that he did pass and he was murdered, I texted him that same night. I spoke to him hours before.
And I'm thanks for sharing that because that's something I didn't know, and this is why I'm happy that you're on the show because I know you're gonna definitely talk about a lot of things that you're gonna share a lot of things that we don't know about your dad and also about yourself.
So again, Will, I'm gonna have you now also describe in your own words who Max was to you as a brother, and you are older, right?
Yes,
the oldest.
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
My brother Max was a very interesting human being. Interesting brother, man. He had his ways, man. He was just unique, very, very smart in math. Like every time I needed a math question, I always came to him. Especially he was very great at counting money and know how to multiply and all the stuff. He was just different. He was very creative. As you know, my brother had a swag to him that everybody was kind of like gravitate towards. Like his energy, his personality was just different. He walked into a room, he lit up a room with his smile. Obviously, you could tell by the brand $1 Million Smile.
These are, pictures or shirts that you created in honor of his death, and I think it's amazing that you even have this concept. And we will go deeper into, what you kind of done to honor him.
So Max was, at times he could be very annoying because it was like his way or the highway. And we got into arguments so many times, y'all. I'm telling you, we got into so many fights. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was always love, and we battled all the time and compete with each other in sports. We competed with each other when it came to girls. Everything was a competition between me and him. And it was, but we had a beautiful relationship. And when my brother was incarcerated for 7 years in federal prison, he was taken away by the system. And obviously, we all know how corrupt the system is because they like to take away our African American men behind the minor stuff. And we could get deep into that maybe later on. But when he was taken away for 7 years, we went back and forth, going to see him in federal prison and traveling. We traveled to Brooklyn, New York. We traveled to Rhode Island. They had him all over him. But then when they moved him to Dallas, Texas, we weren't able to see him for how long was he away for, Cheyenne? And when he was in Texas, maybe 3 years they had him in Texas?
I honestly don't even remember. Is that when we had to message him through the computer or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
he was using social media or whatever. He was using the computer from there. But we didn't see him for so long in Texas. So when he finally came home and was released for about 1.5 years, me and him, we talked about a lot about him coming home, and we were going to be like Batman and Robin and try to invest in property and try to get some business things going and things of that nature. But unfortunately, when you're taken away from your family so long, his thing was trying to come home and catch up with everything. He was trying to play catch up with his family, the community. He was trying to catch up with social media. He got a hold of social media. I remember when he first came home, me and my mom went to pick him up in Hartford, and I introduced him to Snapchat. He's like, man, what is this? And I'm like, dude, you're gonna love it. He's like, man, he was not tuned into what the millennium presented, and that was social media. And I remember when I was doing Instagram, I taught him how to use Instagram. And once he got a hold of that, Cheyenne,
it was crazy.
It was
over.
And just to clarify for our audience, you know, your father did serve time for 7 years. And how long was he home with you guys? You know,
he was only home for about
a year and a half.
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 Wow.
A year and a half he was home with his family. But in that year and a half, Cheyenne, I felt like your dad had an impact on so many people within that year. And I don't know how he was able to touch so many lives within a year.
I honestly think it was because he evolved as a person. Usually when people come out of like prison or jail, it's always the same old thing. They could keep doing the same things that put them there in the first place. But he really tried his best to be a different person. And I think that's what resonated with a lot of people.
Right.
Because it's really hard to change who you are, especially at such a late point of your life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like you said, and that's one thing I think our viewers need to understand. When an African-American man is incarcerated for so long, taken away from his community and his family, coming back into society is so hard because what you have to do is figuring out how to get a job. And you're home, you're free, but you're not really free because you're still stuck to the system because they have you on probation, parole, and you're forced to get a job in a limited amount of time. And then you're turned down by these jobs because of your record. So my brother was just trying to fit in society, and it was hard for him because he was trying to play catch up with the community, with his family members, with himself, and I'm sure it impacted his insecurities a lot. You know what I mean? Especially trying to build relationships with his kids. You know, yourself at the time, Milani, and his late son who passed away in August of 2019, Kamani. You know, so it was definitely a big burden on him to try to catch up. But Cheyenne, my question to you, sweetie, my niece, is how were you able to function after your dad passing to graduate and him not having him there, and also be functional to go to college, like your first year in college? Like, how was that? Like,
honestly, I didn't have any time to grieve because when he passed, it was 4/20. That was like a couple weeks before my 18th birthday. Then right after that was prom. Then right after that was graduation. Then I literally went straight to college. So I never had that space to grieve. So I was kind of in this weird headspace for pretty much a year.
Right. And then
like, it never hit.
How did, you know, his death not only disrupt just like the natural milestones that you were going through, but also just like your interactions with your family and your friends?
Now that's something I do want to talk about, but I was waiting for this question. I feel in terms of like my family, like I would say my mom's side have always been very supported and very solid. So I always had them, but it was weird not having my father there because he was the bridge between like myself, Poppy, like my aunt and stuff like that. So when he was gone, it was kind of like there was no connection keeping the family together. And even in the past, I would say my relationship with my dad's side of the family wasn't always the best. And like I've spoken to him about that, and even like he would kind of like be like, you know, as long as like I got you and your grandma got you, it'll be fine, because my father was not the type of person to speak negative on anybody. And that's just who he was. So like even like trying to seek that, oh, why aren't my family like treating me in a way like my mom's side of the family was? It was always like, oh, we got Cheyenne. And then on the other side, it was kind of like, I felt like I was on an island in a sense. And it was like, dang, like I did lose my father too. Like, where's my love at, in a sense? And it sucked. It did. And the one thing that like I kind of wrote stuff down because I'm going on a tangent.
It's okay.
No, it's all right.
And I mean, from what I'm hearing you say is you felt isolated, you felt unheard, you know, like maybe you didn't fit in with the family anymore.
And then I feel like there was always a disconnect regardless, because I don't know what it was. Like I couldn't even like give you a straight answer on what it was, but I just feel like there was no like connection. I feel like that's the good word. And even though I wasn't always around, like I feel like my dad made sure my presence was still there. Like he was me in certain situations. Like he represented me whenever I wasn't around. So
Right.
like when he wasn't there, it was kind of like, oh, I guess Cheyenne doesn't want to, like people, I feel like people felt like Cheyenne doesn't want to be here. And that was never the case. It's just like
Yeah.
nobody went out of their way to make me feel like I was welcome to be around everybody else.
Right.
And it was hard at that age because I was like, what, 17, to really
Right.
like put my foot down and be like, this is what I want. This is how I feel. Because I was young, like who really stands up to their family at such a young age?
Right.
But after a while, it got to a point where I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like I just can't. It was like bothering me, like to the point where I just couldn't like hold my tongue anymore.
You know what? Another thing, I'm glad you brought that up. For so many years, you as a young child, there was a disconnection between our families, and it always bothered me. But it was always hard for me as the backbone of my family because everybody comes to me for everything, for answers, and you know, for a person who always was trying to glue the family together and keep everybody strong, it was always a miscommunication. And that's one thing I think a lot of family members need to understand is when there's no communication in the family, there's always going to be a disconnect because everybody's going to have their own assumptions in their heads. Oh, this is the reason why that such and such is not here, or this is the reason why. And there was never, everybody had their own ego in a sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like instead of letting their guards down and say, you know what, I love my niece Cheyenne. I'm the uncle, I'm the aunt, I'm the grandmother. We all need to come together at the table and figure out what is going on. Like you said, like your dad said and your mother said, life is too short.
Right.
And unfortunately, that we thought that, you know, after losing Max, that we would be able to come together strongly. But I felt like you said, losing Max kind of like divided everybody in a sense, and like everybody pretty much went their way. And it is difficult because, you know, me as a leader in my community, in my family, and being the backbone, I try my best to try to keep everybody on the same page.
Right.
But it's difficult when you got when you're dealing with so many different egos, and especially when you're dealing with a lot of toxic things that never got addressed. You feel what I'm saying, Cheyenne? So that day when me and you went out to eat and we sat down, as you know, I felt so relief that we were able to discuss our issues and talk about every other issue that was never ever discussed ever. You know what I mean? That was our first time really on unpacking some of the stuff that were bothering you and some things that were bothering me, and it felt like a big relief and it felt like a big weight off my chest. And I'm really grateful that you took the time out to do that, because I think when you were younger, you didn't have the opportunity to do that because you had so many ears, so many people in your ears. So you being a young woman and having your own making your own decisions, you were able to say, you know what, I'm going to step up and do what I want to do and sit down with my uncle and find out what really is the issue, and we're going to patch this up, because God forbid if I lose my uncle,
Right.
I would never be able to communicate with my family members, because my uncle is the glue to the family. You know what I mean? So I'm really grateful that you even gave me the opportunity to understand it's okay to seek help. And I want the viewers to know that you were the first person to really introduce me to seeing a therapist. And I want you to, my question to you is, what has that done for you by taking that leap of faith to seeking help?
Therapy honestly was good for me. Like when I tell you, I don't care if you stub your toe and you're mad at your mom or something, go. I'm serious. Even for the littlest things, you should go, because it is really like, it makes you sit down, say your problems out loud, and make you realize, like, is that really an issue? Like, there was a lot of things, like, I felt a lot of guilt for the wrong reasons after my father's death. It was just like, dang, I was mad at him for so long because he was away. But then I didn't realize I had a great relationship with him. So why was I thinking about how I felt in the past compared to how I feel now? And why am I blaming myself for feeling that way, even though I did have reasons to be upset that he wasn't here?
Right.
And then on top of that, it was just easy to talk about, like, the trauma that came after. Because, like, it hit me like a truck, honestly. I never experienced a loss like this ever. So for it to be somebody as close as my, like, a parent, my father at
Right.
that, it's such a, like, big pill to swallow, especially at that age. Like, it's hard being 17 and trying to, like, understand how your dad was murdered. So it's
Right.
like, yeah.
And then, I mean, you know, it just obviously it disrupts just your family interaction, but then how did it disrupt just how you view the world? Because it's not like your father passed away because it was his time. You know, it wasn't in God's plan. Like his life was taken away, and maybe even if it was a part of God's plan, you know, it's not fair when it's done by somebody else's hands. So how did that change how you just see the world and society and what it means to trust people?
It made me realize that not everybody is your friend. And people say that all the time, and like it goes
Amen.
through one ear and out the other. But
Yeah.
people, like, just because somebody hangs out with you on a daily basis
Right.
does not mean they're your friend.
Absolutely.
And
Preach, girl. Preach.
it's crazy to me because my father was the type of person to be the life of the party. And he'll be out, just being chilling and drinking and having the time of his life. But I'm pretty sure if you ask somebody who was there with him, they would know nothing about him.
Wow.
He was the type of person to really just like not like express himself in that way. He
Right.
never really liked, I don't know, like really going past certain layers of himself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his fault. It's just like the way his life, like the path of his life was.
Right.
The people who he was around and he got burned by, or just like something like that. Like,
Yes.
not everyone is your friend. And I witnessed that to like such a degree after his death. And I just, certain like instances where people would like cry and just be all out and all of that, it just irked me in a way because it just like it bothered me to such a degree because when he was around, the same amount of love that could have been shown to him wasn't.
Right.
And now that he's not here, it's like everybody wants to lose their mind. But where was that same energy when he was going through prison, before he went to prison, after prison?
Right.
Like, you can't, like, and then the one thing I did notice about, like, people's reactions to death is, like, it's always about who cries the loudest, who cries the most in public. But we should be celebrating his life for when he was here, not, like, trying to have a competition with each other. Because at the end of the day, you should know the love that was there. Like, you don't have to express to people like how much, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like,
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna jump in real fast, Cheyenne. I kind of like really like what really bothers me, and just to piggyback off what you're saying, is that the same energy that everybody had after Max passed. Where was that energy when he was alive? When Max was looking for jobs, when Max was looking for love, when Max was looking for just a genuine, loyal friend to be there by his side. I don't think he had too many, because leading up to his death, there was videos I seen with him out and about with people that I feel like he didn't really cared for. He just was around them because they accepted him. He didn't look like himself. And it kind of broke my heart as his older brother, the fact that I felt like myself, and it kind of weighed on me a lot, that I could have stepped up a little bit better and maybe chimed in. But you know your dad was hard-headed. Like, there was times I used to come to him like, yo, listen, man, like, I don't think you should be around these certain people. And he always would say, I know what I'm doing. I got this. You know, and I'm like, you know what? To prevent an argument, I just left it alone. But it bothers me because to this day, I still say, damn, I felt like I could have chimed in just a little bit more, or be a little bit more aggressive, and maybe he probably would still be here. I'm not sure, but for so long, it's been bothering me. You know what I mean? Because I know the people he was hanging around didn't have his ultimate love and genuine loyalty, his best interest, and he knew, and I think he knew that, but he just accepted them because the fact that, like you said, the people he wanted the love from turned their backs on him.
And that leads me into, I mean, asking the both of you guys, because from what I'm hearing is, and this is for a lot of people when they experience a loss, you know, you have the immediate flowers, you have the people calling and texting probably in the first 2 to 3 weeks when somebody passes, but then after a month passes, 6 months passes, and we're approaching his third anniversary tomorrow. I mean, how do you support a family who's had such an extreme loss? Like, what do you guys really feel like you need? And I don't know if there's a correct answer, but I think it's good for the audience to understand.
Shy, you want to take this one? I'll answer that after. Go ahead.
Okay, so I feel like people get the word support confused. Like when I say I want support, I'm talking about emotional and physical,
Right?
not financially.
Right.
I don't know why people get support and money. They're not associated with each other.
Right.
And I feel like that's where people get confused. And even when my father passed around that time, I did have a couple people who did support me. And it was kind of like weird to me because I've like never really met these people before.
Right.
So one of my dad's friends, Jessie, she knew literally what my dad was getting me for my birthday. And she brought me the gift. She took me to even get my first tattoo dedicated to him. Because that night, literally when we were texting, we were literally, I don't even know, me and my dad were arguing about a tattoo. I wanted it like this big on my rib and everything. And he was like, I don't think that's gonna work. And I was like, why? I want this though. Like he was just like, Cheyenne, I'm telling you right now, like, no. And then I was like, okay, whatever you say. And then later he had passed. So she knew how much I wanted the tattoo. He had already bought me a gift. Mind you, this is April. My birthday is in May. Like, I don't know how long he had the gift, but he had it already. And it's crazy that she was able to present that to me and still get my tattoo done and all of that. So she was one person that did stick by me, and I do commend her for that. And there was another person, Jean helped me a lot too. And it was kind of weird because I've always been skeptical about my dad's friends. So when he tried to talk to me, no, I'm so serious.
No, I know you are. I know you are.
I'm so serious.
No,
like,
I believe
like,
you.
When people used to come up to me and be like, yeah, I knew your dad. If you ever need anything, I got you. And I'll be like, okay.
Right.
Like, all right, if you say so. But he was that serious. And like when he approached me, he was like, yeah, I got you for whatever, blah, blah, blah. I took it with a grain of salt. Yeah. I did. And then my mom was like, Cheyenne, I'm telling you, he don't lie. And I was like, okay, Mom, if you say so. And then like he literally checked in on me probably once a week, pretty much all the time. And then my birthday came around and he was just like, oh, what do you want for your birthday? And like, remember, I said, no financials. I don't want that type of support. Yeah. But he did still get me my summer jam ticket. So I always appreciate that as well. And even when my dad passed, he made it his mission to really get me and my siblings to speak to each other. Like, I feel like for a while he kind of worked on us individually. And then one day he popped up and we were on the group chat and he was like, so here's what it is. Y'all about to hang out with each other and this is what it's going to be. And I was just kind of like, who does he think he is? And it was just crazy because nobody has ever stepped up to really be like, y'all need to talk to each other. And I will always appreciate that because if that never happened, I really don't know where my relationship with my siblings would even be, especially considering what happened to my brother. So like, just to know that he was like the instrument to really being like, okay, y'all are siblings. Y'all need to start communicating. Y'all need to start hanging out. Like, this is what your dad would have wanted. And I will admit, my dad did try, but we was all stubborn. We all hard-headed.
Yeah.
Y'all know.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Kamani is the hard-headed. What?
Yeah. Can you just explain to the audience too, what's the significance of you being able to have those moments with your siblings, especially your brother?
I think because growing up, I could tell you the first moment I met my brother. And it's crazy because I remember grandma picked me up, brought me to the house, and they was like, Cheyenne, we got to show you something. And I'm just like, Okay,
I'll show
so
you.
I'll show you
I
something.
go up the stairs,
Like
and
it's
open the door.
Like it's a
There's this
toy.
boy sitting in the chair, and I'm like, "Who is this?" And he's like,
Wow.
"Yeah, so this is your brother." And I was like, "Huh?" And it's crazy because I'm like,
what a way to show you
What
something,
a
right?
way.
right? I was just like, "So, hi." It was
Yeah.
weird because I never like we were pretty much the same age, so it was like.
Wow.
That was just like, and it was like we were really close actually. Not even gonna lie. I remember he used to come over to my house and he would cry. He would beat me up if I ever told anybody that. But he used to cry and be like, "I want to go home," blah blah blah. But then like after a while, we would get used to each other. I remember leaving gifts because we went to the same school. I remember putting gifts in his locker for his birthday. My mom used to hook him up with some nice sneakers because my dad would have done it. So she did it for him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. And then like, especially for my little sister, I just like if I could sacrifice people coming to me and asking for help, I'd rather them do it for her, honestly, because she is the youngest.
Yeah.
And we all know my sister is shy.
Yeah.
And it's just like
she's opening up a little bit, just a little
yeah,
bit.
but it's like at the end of the day, I feel like if anybody takes anything away from what I'm saying, my sister is like my priority in the sense of making sure she's good. Like that's all I'm worried about. I don't care if nobody ever asks me how I am ever again, as long as they're doing it to her, because I feel like she's still at that age where it can still hurt, but she just won't say anything. Like I know. Like I know when I was her age, I wasn't gonna say nothing. Like if I'm upset, I'm gonna keep that with me, and that's just what it was gonna be. So like nobody really knows like what the youngest person is doing, because it's always like, oh, the oldest, she spent the most time with him. Like she would like yes, I felt it, but she was still young.
Yeah. And now
like,
it's just the two of you. Because the audience doesn't really understand why I said your brother.
Yes, I mean, for the audience who doesn't know, like, if you want to share about Kamani, like, because some people don't know, like, what happened to Kamani, like, your younger brother. Just share with the audience who don't know about Kamani.
So he was a victim of a brutal car crash, and it's honestly just, it shakes me just like even talking about it, because it's still so like fresh, but it kind of opened old wounds with my father's passing, because it's like it's both sudden and tragic. So like it's just like it's crazy to me. And I knew that like me and my brother's relationship was solid because we always had that like, and plus we looked the same, so that was just another thing. And then so like we just had that bond with each other, and even though we didn't talk all the time, the love was there. And it's like it was crazy to lose him, because I was abroad when that happened. So like I found out when I wasn't even in the country, so I was studying in Europe when I found out. And it was just, it literally probably shaped my world as much as my father's did. But the thing I would say is my father's death taught me how to cope with my brothers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like it taught me that like to like it taught me ways to deal with it. And I don't know if that was like planned that way, but it's crazy to me how I lose one, not even like 2 years, year and a half later, my brother's gone too. But like I will always cherish the relationship I have with him, because I knew it was real. And like even when I was telling the stories of before and all of that, like it just all of life is crazy. Let's just
it
it definitely is crazy.
Insane. But back to the support thing, it's just, I just wish at the time things were different, because I felt a lot of like fake love, and at the time where it was kind of like I wasn't around, people will ask if I'm okay, but then I come around and nobody's saying anything. So it's kind of like, was that inquiry really genuine? Were you really trying to ask me how I was, or were you just fishing for information? Like, you don't really know what people's intentions are, especially like since their actions never really followed up with what they were saying.
Right.
So like that was one thing I did learn, is that like a lot of people are not your friends, and people can like be deceitful with how they
Oh,
feel.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's just what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think sometimes it's hard for people to, like, when they see you in public, it's hard for them. They don't know what to say too, because like I've got that so many times when I used to be out in public, and people would just stare at me, and like people that will see me later on, like they would reach out to me through Instagram and Facebook. I see you, but I didn't know how to approach you.
Right.
Or people that did approach me
Right.
would mention about my brother's case, and I'm like, I never felt comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But back to the support thing, I'm gonna stay on topic. I think the support system was, to me, it was different. There was a lot of great support from a lot of people, but it was a half-ass fake support, I believe, because
I would say that too.
to all due respect for the viewers, everybody disappeared within the months. Like it went from the phone calls to the visitors to everybody checking up on me, my mom, and everything else, and it went cold turkey.
Right.
And I believe if you consider that you love Max so much, you love his kids, or if you love his siblings, that you stay consistent by checking in. Like you said, it's not about financial support. It's about emotional support. And what that looks like, people who don't understand what emotional support means, it's a quick phone call. Hey, what's up? Just saying what's up. Just checking up on you, see how you doing. Or hey, you know, if I have some time, maybe you could grab a cup of coffee, some tea, or maybe grab a bite to eat. Just a little thing. It doesn't have to be nothing every day. It could be once a month. It could be, you know, once every 2 months, something like that. And I think, you know, in the first 3 weeks of Max passing, there was overwhelmingly a lot of support, and it was kind of annoying. But then it started to disappear little by little, and you started to see who the real ones are and who the fake ones are, I believe. And I started to understand too. I wanted to say something else. Speaking about fake love and the fake, like, I would say, like, the competition of crying at the funeral with all these different ladies coming up addressing our family and his children to try to act like they was the one. And it's like, what? I didn't know you from before. Like, I don't mind you coming up to us saying that you knew my brother, but I think going above and beyond extra mile, acting like you was his wife, is like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of, I think, a sign of disrespect, because you started to see everybody on social media going back and forth, try to prove their love. They try to prove their love. Then afterwards, you started seeing the disloyalty of them drifting, messing around with his so-called friends and things of that nature. And that's for another, I don't want to get into that, but
yeah.
It takes away from the family, again, who's grieving. Like, so many times, even in my own family, when people pass away, everyone starts arguing about money. Everyone starts arguing about how the funeral is going to be arranged and who's going to be the first in line and who's going to hold the casket. It really takes away from just honoring, you know, the person who passed. And unfortunately, we're never taught how to grieve. We're never taught what death really means. Even in church, you know, and I'm a devout Christian, we're told that when we pass, our soul will go on to heaven, but we never talk about everybody else that's left. Like, what do you do? How do you continue your life? And I have a question for you, Will, because I feel like you being the oldest child, you were kind of left to hold on the weight of everything. And I really think it's important for everyone to understand, you know, what that looked like for you and how it changed you as a person. Because not only did it, you know, impact Cheyenne and Cayla, again, Cayla's going to come in on the second hour, but just how did it change you as a person?
Well, I think, Cheyenne, I want to say something to you that I don't think I probably never said this to you, and if I did, I don't remember. I think the weight that I took on was so overwhelming. I didn't even get, you talking about you didn't get a chance to grieve? I didn't really get a chance to grieve. And when I did grieve, I had crazy meltdowns. And at the time, I was drinking alcohol heavily. I had a really bad drinking problem, even worse, when Uncle Max, when your dad passed away. And at the time, you know, people would feed me alcohol to think that would make me feel better, to pretty much suppress my feelings, and it wasn't doing me any justice.
Yeah.
All it was doing was just bringing more emotions to my sanity. It was adding depression to my life, and I was so confused because I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know who to talk to, and I had a limited people that I talked to at the time. Which, you know, around that time I had Cayla, you know, my ex-girlfriend at the time, my daughter Cayla, and my daughter's mother Tiffany, and that was pretty much it. And there were a couple of people who would check in, but it wasn't that many. And I had so many different episodes, and I had to deal with not just grieving on my own, but I had to deal with grandma's, you know, my mom's grief. And when I mean dealing with her every single day, every single second, every single minute, I had to hear her cry.
I can attest to that.
And scream.
Because she can't even look at me. And it's like,
can't.
she talks to me. When I tell you, she probably talks to me like every other day. But she cannot, she still to this day, 3 years later, cannot look at me.
Wow.
And even though sometimes I don't listen and I do see her, she'll try to like keep this strong front. Yeah. But once I go, I know she probably loses.
She breaks down.
I look like my dad, and sometimes I feel like that gets to people, and like when they look at me, they see him. So it's like, she, for one, I know is still grieving to this day because she can't even like look at me. So
she would. What people need to understand is a mother would never finish grieving.
Absolutely not.
Never. You know what I mean? Especially looking at you, and especially when Kamani was alive, she held on to that because Kimani was another version of Max.
Yes,
like,
she used to
spitting image of Max. He act just like his dad.
Yes,
just like his dad.
Yep.
And to lose Kamani, it was really, really devastating for her. It was like she felt helpless. Like, oh my God, I have nothing else to live for. Yeah. And I kind of stressed her, like, Mom, you do have other grandkids to live for. You have Serge, Olivia, you have Cheyenne, you have Milani. You know, you have other grandkids that you have to really hold the fort down for. Right. But it's hard to her to understand, like you said, like, we're not taught how to grieve. We don't know who to lean on to. Right. Like, we're not taught to talk to a therapist and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Coming from our community, you know, it's that curse that says, you know, go to church, pray to God, and that's it. And get over it. Go to school the next day. Go to work and get over the debt. You'll be fine.
You're just expected just to continue on life. And I mean, it kind of leads me to my last question for Cheyenne. And I can't believe that we're already in the 47th minute of this taping. But, you know, life does continue. And you do have to keep pushing. And I think it's important to just discuss like what you have accomplished in the last 3 years of your father passing, because I think there's a huge statistic against our children, our Black children, saying that if your father went to prison, that you're automatically a statistic. You're automatically not gonna, you know, achieve these things. But I heard you say that you went to study abroad. I mean, how many people do you really know have the opportunity? Which means you must have had the grades, first off, because it's so expensive to even get there. So I just really, you know, just talk about your accomplishments, what you're doing in life right now, just how you're pushing forward.
So just tell the viewers what school you're attending right now, and what's your major, and all your great accomplishments, because we want everybody to know that you are a great scholar and a smart, young, beautiful lady.
Yes,
snap to that.
So after that, I did graduate from high school. Then I went to St. John's University. I did start my first year as a criminal justice major. Yes. I was always interested in the law. I guess it's because of where my father was and me trying to continue understanding, how he got there, why was he there, were there other things that could have happened to prevent him from being there that long. So then after a while, I was like, I'm gonna kind of change routes. So my second year, I changed to an accounting degree.
Okay. So
now I'm an accounting major, and then after this next year, May 2021. I will be continuing and like going in my master's for my 5th year.
Come on.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
I'll be getting my risk and financial advisory degree. So that is basically like fraud examination. Like I'm dealing with like white collar crime and the money. It's always about the money.
Yes.
So if you follow the money, you catch the bad guy. And a lot of people,
right.
I noticed that like while I was a criminal justice major, a lot of people overlook financial crimes. It's always about violence. It's always about this. It's always about that. But like, what about all the people in the business suits laundering all that money? Why are we not talking about that? Why is it always about the black man who shoots somebody else? Blah blah blah.
Because
but like
the color.
I mean, there's certain people on the Wall Street that's doing a lot of crooked business. So
absolutely, talk about that.
like,
Preach.
it's just like, why aren't people talking about
Preach,
those
young
type
lady,
of
preach.
crimes? It's the same thing. So that is also what I'm doing. I've been inducted into like different honor societies, and it's actually crazy because literally on the day my father was put to rest, I got inducted. So that's like a little callback that I like to talk about.
That's a blessing from God and your dad.
Yeah.
Straight up. And that's one thing I can say, Shy. Your dad's presence, his spirit is still so strong here. Like I don't know if you want to speak on it after I say what I'm going to say. Like I'm always feeling your dad's presence everywhere I go. Like it's amazing. Every time like I bring his name up, like I see like either I'll see the year he was born on a license plate, or I see a sign that says Max. Like something always presents that he's around, and it's amazing. Like we know how your dad is. He plays a lot of jokes. Like people that I speak to say like, you know, they'll mention Max's name and the light go on and off in their room. Like, you know, he was a jokester. People don't know, like my brother was very, very funny. And a lot of my friends, people say now, they think Max passed away and left me all his jokes because people think I'm funny now. And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
If I could tell you how many times my mom be like, Cheyenne, tell me why your Father's Day came out. I ain't get to play it. I couldn't remember, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay. Like, you don't know how many times I'll see, like, license plates and stuff like that. And it's like, life is crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
But I want to go back to what you said earlier about Kimani. I know I addressed the whole support thing, but, you know, the crazy thing about when you said life is crazy, your dad passed away 10 days after Grandma's birthday. So Grandma's birthday was April 10th. And that's another thing that weighs on her. Her birthday was April 10th. Your dad passed away 10 days later, April 20th. And the last time me and dad really spoke, he texted me on Grandma's birthday saying, hey, you know, what we going to get Grandma? Let's go half on a gift. Because me and your dad wasn't on good speaking terms, but the love was still always there. You know what I'm saying? We went through our issues. But then with Kimani, when I got the phone call, it was August 26th, the morning of August 26th, 2019. And my birthday was literally 5 days later. Like my birthday, September 2nd. So we had to do his funeral a day before my birthday. And I got the news August 26th. So like, it's just weird how life plays it. Like Grandma lost Max 10 days after her birthday. And we lose Kimani, my nephew, your brother, days before my birthday. So it's like our family, I feel like, is like we're stuck with so much. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to like April in a month of August and September is never going to be the same for me and Grandma and you yourself, because your birthday is literally in a couple of weeks in May coming up. So it's like it's just crazy how, you know, like, but one thing I can say, God has gave us a lot of strength, because like we said before, the people who are fake, per se, were probably praying that we were going to go down. So one thing I can say, the positive out of our family is that you're still standing strong, physically, mentally. You're going to school doing great. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I got a couple of different businesses, young athletes for change. We got the $1 Million Smile brand. We got the podcast going.
Yeah.
A lot of great things been happening. Cayla's in school doing great. Milani's doing pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of upside to this situation. And I want a lot of family members to know who's lost a child or a brother or uncle. you know, life goes on.
Yeah.
But you got to take the tragic situation and turn into a positive. Never want to be the victim. You want to be the victor.
Right.
And that's what I say to a lot of people that come to me and say, well, how did you do it? Because I don't want to be labeled as a victim. I want to be labeled as a person that was victorious through this, and to see all of us win.
Right.
And that's what happened. I see that we're all winning right now, and God has blessed us and gave us strength. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm doing great in the business world. I'm keeping his name and legacy alive. You're doing the same. Cayla's doing the same. We're going to keep Kamani's legacy alive, because if God forbid, you know, once this coronavirus is up, I'm going to do a huge event and during Kamani's anniversary, August 26th. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about that later on in the future. But, you know, everything's just amazing. God has been good.
Yes. And just lastly, do you have any other words that you want to share with anyone who may, you know, be still grieving? And just how do you, you know, just how do you cope? I mean, I don't think you ever really cope, but what could you really say?
For those that have or will in the future lose someone, I feel like your best bet not only is to like go through therapy, but do seek those people who actually care about you. Because I feel like if I didn't have like those handful of people supporting me 100%, who knows where I would be right now. And it's like hard, like it's crazy because that support allows me to keep pushing. And like honestly, if I didn't have those people, it'd be a totally different story. Because my dad, honestly, he was so proud of me in terms of how well I did in school. And even with sports, he was always present when I played basketball and volleyball. And I feel like he was living through me when he saw me going through school, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I feel like he was living through me, and I still feel like I have that obligation to continue to do that for him. And now, so even my brother. Because it's like, I need to fight for my name. I need to fight for my brother and my father. And that's what I'm going to do until forever, how long I'm blessed to do so.
Yeah.
So,
Shy, I have a question for you. And I want you to address our viewers that's listening right now. What would you want to say to the people that's responsible for your dad's murder? And also, what would you want to say to the Bridgeport Police Department and or the witnesses that have information on your dad's case?
I more specifically want to talk to the witnesses, because I've watched a lot of crime documentaries, and most of the cold cases are solved by witnesses. Absolutely. And it literally only takes one person to say something to get the ball rolling. Because once like one person says something, someone's like, oh, they said something, maybe I should say something too. And it's always the littlest bit that you can give goes a long way. And I don't think people understand that. Like, if you sit down and binge watch some crime documentary, you are going to see at least one episode about one person that came forward.
Yes.
And now, like, somebody's convicted of a crime.
First 48.
That's what I thought of. Right.
But it's just like, and it's been 3 years. Like, it's like, I feel like in this like criminal justice world, that's not a long time. There's still time. No. There's still time to speak up. There is still time. And
we don't want this to turn into a cold case, because
that's the worst scenario.
It's the worst scenario. I mean, God forbid 10 years passes and, you know, there's not enough evidence or everything has changed again. So it further pushes away from just seeking the truth. So again, we want our viewers, our listeners, because everybody's always watching. If you know something, just like Cheyenne said, just say something. We've listed ways that they can contact the detective. What else you want to add?
I mean, we have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. But one thing I want to say, like we said, we're going to give you a little bit more time. Once this thing if it logs off, all our viewers, please tune back in at 7. We're going to give us a few minutes. We're going to log back on at 7 o'clock. We're going to give Cheyenne some more time, and then we're going to log Cayla in right after Cheyenne, because there's a lot more that we would like to address about my brother and about the case. So please stay tuned, viewers. We have I believe we have 2 more minutes left, so just bear with us. So everybody that's viewing in, I think we have 25 viewers left. That's on or whatever, how many? Just stay with us. We're back on at 7 o'clock. But Cheyenne, I want to say to you also is like
going